Never be manipulated again. The secret art of mental defense. Stop everything you are doing right now. This is not another self-help video that will waste your time with empty promises. What I am about to share with you will fundamentally change how you interact with every single person in your life. You have been living as prey in a world full of predators and you do not even realize it. Every day people are using sophisticated psychological techniques to control your decisions, manipulate your emotions, and steal your power. They are doing this so skillfully that you actually thank them for it. Your boss who makes you feel guilty for taking time off. Your friend who always turns conversations back to themselves. Your family member who uses emotional blackmail to get what they want. That salesperson who made you buy something you did not need. The person who always makes you feel like you are the problem in every conflict. They are not just difficult people. They are psychological manipulators who have learned to exploit the vulnerabilities in your mental programming. In these times where emotional manipulation has become an epidemic, where gaslighting is a common term, where people use guilt, shame, and fear as weapons, you need to develop mental immunity. You need to learn the secret art of mental defense that only a select few understand. What you are about to discover is not theory from psychology textbooks. This is battlefield-tested knowledge that will transform you from a victim of manipulation into someone who cannot be touched by psychological predators. I am going to reveal 3 core principles that will build an impenetrable fortress around your mind. These are the same techniques used by master negotiators, elite leaders, and those who refuse to be controlled by anyone. But before we begin, you need to understand something crucial about why you have been vulnerable to manipulation your entire life. It is not because you are weak or naive. It is because you have a quality that manipulators specifically target. You have empathy. You care about what others think. You want to be liked and accepted. You avoid conflict whenever possible. These are beautiful human qualities that make you a good person, but they are also the exact vulnerabilities that psychological predators exploit to control you. They use your empathy against you by making you feel responsible for their emotions. They use your desire to be liked against you by threatening to withdraw their approval. They use your conflict avoidance against you by creating tension that only disappears when you give them what they want. Every manipulator operates from the same basic playbook. They create emotional pressure that makes you uncomfortable. Then they offer you relief from that pressure in exchange for compliance. They make you feel guilty, then offer to forgive you if you do what they want. They make you feel afraid, then offer you safety if you follow their rules. They make you feel confused, then offer you clarity if you accept their version of reality. This is psychological warfare, and until today, you have been fighting it without weapons or armor. You have been trying to win battles using kindness and logic against opponents who use manipulation and emotional terrorism. But that ends today. Today you learn to recognize every manipulation tactic the moment it appears. Today you develop responses that neutralize psychological attacks instantly. Today you build mental defenses that make you completely immune to emotional manipulation. The first principle of mental defense will shock you because it goes against everything you have been taught about being a good person. But it is absolutely essential for your psychological survival. Like this video right now if you have ever felt like people take advantage of your kindness. Comment the word fortress if you are ready to build unbreakable mental defenses. Share this with someone who needs to learn these protection techniques. Because what comes next is going to revolutionize how you handle every manipulative person in your life. The first principle of the secret art of mental defense is called emotional detachment. This does not mean becoming cold or heartless. It means learning to observe emotional manipulation without being affected by it. Most people fail at this because they think detachment means not caring about others. That is completely wrong. Emotional detachment means caring about people while refusing to let them control you through emotional manipulation. Think of it like being a doctor in an emergency room. The doctor cares deeply about saving the patient, but they do not let the family's panic and desperation cloud their medical judgment. They maintain emotional clarity while providing compassionate care. That is exactly the skill you need to develop in your personal relationships. When someone tries to manipulate you with guilt, you observe their tactic without absorbing their emotional energy. When someone tries to control you with anger, You recognize their strategy without matching their intensity. When someone tries to confuse you with gaslighting, you maintain your grip on reality without getting pulled into their distorted version of events. Here is how emotional detachment works in real situations. Someone says, "You never have time for me anymore. You obviously do not care about our friendship." Instead of feeling guilty and scrambling to prove you care, you detach emotionally and observe the manipulation. You recognize this as a guilt-based control attempt designed to make you prioritize their needs above your own boundaries. Your detached response might be, "I understand you would like more of my time, but my current schedule reflects my priorities and limitations." Notice how this response acknowledges their statement without accepting responsibility for their emotional reaction. You are not defending yourself, which would give their manipulation power. You are not attacking them, which would escalate the conflict. You are simply stating reality from a position of emotional clarity. This is the power of detachment. It allows you to respond to manipulation attempts with calm rationality instead of reactive emotions. Here is another example of emotional detachment in action. Someone says, "If you really loved me, you would do this for me." This is a classic manipulation that tries to make you prove your love through compliance. The manipulator is essentially holding your relationship hostage until you give them what they want. Without emotional detachment, you might feel compelled to prove your love by giving in to their demand. With emotional detachment, you recognize the manipulation and respond with clarity. Your response might be, "My love for you is not measured by my willingness to do things that compromise my values or boundaries." This response refuses to engage with the false premise that love equals compliance. It maintains your autonomy while addressing their concern directly. The key to developing emotional detachment is understanding that you are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are responsible for your own actions and responses. You are not responsible for making other people happy, comfortable, or satisfied. That is their responsibility. When you truly understand this distinction, manipulation loses its power over you. Because manipulation only works when you feel responsible for the manipulator's emotional state. The moment you stop feeling responsible for their feelings, their tactics become powerless. They can be angry, disappointed, hurt, or upset. Those are their emotions to manage, not yours to fix. This is not selfish or cruel. This is healthy psychological boundaries that protect your mental well-being. Practice emotional detachment by observing manipulation attempts like a scientist studying interesting behavior. When someone tries to guilt, you think, "That is an interesting guilt-based manipulation tactic." When someone tries to intimidate, you think, "That is a fear-based control attempt." When someone tries to confuse you, think, "That is gaslighting designed to make me question my reality." This mental labeling creates psychological distance between you and the manipulation attempt. It transforms you from a victim who absorbs the emotional attack into an observer who studies the technique. Share this video with your friends and family who need to learn emotional detachment. Send it to your social media groups because someone in your network is being manipulated right now and needs this information. Follow this channel for more advanced psychological defense techniques that will protect your mind from predators. The second principle of mental defense is called reality anchoring, and this is what separates amateur defenders from master-level protectors. Manipulators are experts at distorting your perception of reality to make you question your own memory, judgment, and sanity. They do this through a technique called gaslighting, where they systematically make you doubt your own experiences. They convince you that things that happened did not happen. They convince you that things that did not happen actually did happen. They rewrite history to make themselves look innocent and you look crazy. In today's world where information is constantly manipulated and people routinely deny obvious facts, your ability to maintain a clear grip on reality has never been more important. Reality anchoring means developing unshakable confidence in your own perceptions and experiences. It means creating mental systems that protect your sense of reality from external distortion attempts. Here is how reality anchoring works in practice. Let us say someone consistently shows up late to meetings with you, causing you stress and wasted time. When you confront them about this pattern, they respond, "I am never late. You are just impatient and unreasonable." Without reality anchoring, you might start questioning yourself. Maybe I am being too demanding. Maybe I am remembering wrong. Maybe I am the problem here. This is exactly what the manipulator wants you to think. With reality anchoring, you maintain confidence in your observations regardless of their denial. You know what you experienced. You know what you observed. You know what really happened. Their denial does not change the facts. It only reveals their willingness to distort reality to avoid accountability. The first step in reality anchoring is documentation. Start keeping records of important interactions, especially with people who have a history of denying or distorting facts. Write down what was said, when it was said, and who was present. Take screenshots of text messages and emails. Keep notes about patterns of behavior you observe. This is not paranoia. This is evidence-based reality protection. When someone tries to gaslight you by denying something that clearly happened, you have objective records to anchor your perception of reality. The second step in reality anchoring is developing what I call witnesses to reality. These are trusted people who can confirm your perceptions when manipulators try to make you doubt yourself. If someone consistently denies saying things they clearly said, start having important conversations with witnesses present. If someone tries to rewrite history about events that happened, consult with others who were there. If someone tries to convince you that your reactions are unreasonable, get perspective from people whose judgment you trust. The third step in reality anchoring is learning to trust your instincts about people's behavior patterns. Your subconscious mind picks up on inconsistencies and deceptions long before your conscious mind recognizes them. That feeling that something is off about what someone is telling you is often your intuition recognizing manipulation attempts. That sense that someone is not being honest with you is usually accurate. That gut feeling that someone is trying to control you is typically correct. Learn to honor these instincts instead of dismissing them as overthinking. Manipulators train you to ignore your instincts by convincing you that your perceptions are wrong. They want you to doubt yourself so you will accept their version of reality. But your instincts are sophisticated detection systems that have evolved over millions of years to protect you from threats. Trust them. Here is a powerful reality anchoring technique for dealing with gaslighting in real time. When someone denies something you clearly remember, instead of arguing about what happened, shift the focus to what is happening right now. Say something like, "I have a clear memory of that conversation, and the fact that you are denying it tells me we have very different ways of processing reality." This response does two things. First, it anchors your reality without getting pulled into a debate about facts that cannot be proven in the moment. Second, it identifies the real issue, which is not what happened in the past, but the pattern of reality distortion happening in the present. Another powerful reality anchoring response is, "I am going to trust my memory and judgment on this one." This statement is incredibly powerful because it refuses to engage with the gaslighting attempt while firmly establishing your right to trust your own perceptions. The manipulator cannot argue against your right to trust yourself without revealing their manipulation tactics. Reality anchoring also means recognizing projection, where manipulators accuse you of doing exactly what they are doing. If someone who lies constantly calls you dishonest, that is projection. If someone who manipulates others accuses you of being manipulative, that is projection. If someone who refuses to take responsibility blames you for avoiding accountability, that is projection. When you understand projection, these accusations lose their power to make you doubt yourself. Instead, they become valuable information about the manipulator's own behavior patterns. The fourth step in reality anchoring is developing what I call consequence confidence. This means being willing to face the social consequences of maintaining your grip on reality. Manipulators often threaten social rejection, relationship damage, or professional consequences if you do not accept their distorted version of events. They might say things like, "Everyone thinks you are overreacting. No one is going to believe your version of what happened. You are going to ruin your reputation if you keep insisting on this." These are intimidation tactics designed to make you abandon your reality to avoid social consequences. Consequence confidence means being willing to face these threats rather than compromise your mental integrity. It means valuing your psychological health over social approval. It means choosing truth over temporary peace. This is not easy, especially when manipulators recruit others to pressure you into accepting their reality. But maintaining your grip on truth is essential for your long-term mental health and self-respect. Comment Anchor if you recognize gaslighting attempts in your own life. Share this video with anyone who has ever made you question your own memory or sanity. Because reality anchoring is the foundation of all psychological self-defense. Without it, every other defense technique becomes worthless. The third principle of mental defense is called strategic non-engagement, and this is the advanced technique that most people never learn. This principle will transform you from someone who gets pulled into every conflict into someone who maintains complete control over their energy and attention. Most people believe that when someone attacks them, challenges them, or tries to manipulate them, they must respond immediately. They think silence means weakness. They think not defending themselves means acceptance. They think failing to argue back means the other person wins. This is completely backwards thinking that keeps you trapped in cycles of manipulation and drama. Strategic non-engagement means recognizing that some battles are not worth fighting and some people are not worth your energy. It means understanding that engaging with certain types of manipulation actually gives the manipulator exactly what they want: your attention, your emotional energy, and your time. Many manipulators do not actually care about winning arguments or getting specific outcomes. What they really want is to control your emotional state and consume your mental resources. They want to live rent-free in your head. They want you thinking about them, talking about them, and reacting to them. When you engage with these people, even to defend yourself or prove them wrong, you give them exactly what they are seeking. Strategic non-engagement starves manipulators of the attention and reaction they crave. It forces them to find other sources of drama and control. Here is how strategic non-engagement works in practice. Someone sends you a long, aggressive message full of accusations and blame. Your natural instinct might be to defend yourself point by point, explaining why they are wrong and providing evidence of your innocence. But strategic non-engagement recognizes that this response serves their agenda, not yours. They want you to spend your time and energy crafting a detailed defense. They want you to feel compelled to justify yourself to them. They want you to engage with their emotional drama. Instead, you might respond with something brief and neutral like, "I see that you are upset," or simply not respond at all. This drives manipulators absolutely crazy because it denies them the emotional reaction they were seeking. It shows that you are not willing to play their games or dance to their music. Strategic non-engagement is particularly powerful against people who use what I call bait and switch manipulation. These are people who start fights, create drama, or make unreasonable demands, then act like you are the problem when you react predictably to their behavior. They bait you into responding emotionally, then switch to portraying themselves as the victim of your reaction. For example, someone might deliberately provoke you with insults or unfair criticism. When you respond with frustration or anger, they immediately shift to, "Why are you being so aggressive? I was just trying to have a conversation." This technique makes you look like the unstable one while they appear calm and reasonable. Strategic non-engagement breaks this cycle by refusing to take the bait in the first place. When someone tries to provoke you, you remain emotionally neutral. When someone tries to start an argument, you decline to participate. When someone tries to drag you into their drama, you politely exit the situation. This is not avoidance or weakness. This is strategic power that keeps you in control of your own emotional state. Here are specific phrases you can use for strategic non-engagement. That is an interesting perspective. I will need to think about that. I understand that you see it differently. I am not available for this conversation right now. We seem to have different views on this. I prefer not to discuss this topic. Notice how these responses acknowledge what the person said without agreeing, disagreeing, defending, or attacking. They are neutral statements that do not provide fuel for continued manipulation. Strategic non-engagement also means recognizing when people are trying to manipulate you through manufactured urgency. Manipulators often create artificial time pressure to prevent you from thinking clearly about their requests. They might say things like, "I need an answer right now. This cannot wait until tomorrow." You have to decide immediately. If you do not respond within the next hour, I will assume you do not care. These urgency tactics are designed to bypass your rational thinking and force quick compliance. Strategic non-engagement responds to manufactured urgency by refusing to be pressured into immediate decisions. You might say, I need time to consider. This properly or important decisions require proper consideration. If someone cannot respect your need for reasonable thinking time, that tells you everything you need to know about their intentions. Strategic non-engagement becomes even more powerful when combined with what I call selective availability. This means being strategic about when and how you make yourself available for interaction with manipulative people. You do not have to answer every phone call immediately. You do not have to respond to every text message within minutes. You do not have to be available for lengthy conversations whenever someone else feels like having them. You control your availability based on your priorities and boundaries, not other people's demands for immediate attention. This drives manipulators crazy because they lose the ability to interrupt your life whenever they want drama or attention. The most advanced form of strategic non-engagement is called the information diet. This means being extremely selective about what personal information you share with people who have a history of using that information to manipulate you. Manipulators collect personal details about your fears, insecurities, relationships, and challenges. Then they use this information as ammunition when they want to control or hurt you. They bring up your past mistakes during unrelated arguments. They exploit your insecurities when they want to make you feel small. They use your fears as threats when they want compliance. The information diet protects you by limiting access to personal details that could be weaponized against you. You share information on a need-to-know basis only. You keep your vulnerabilities private from people who have proven they cannot be trusted with them. You become strategically mysterious about aspects of your life that manipulators might exploit. This is not being fake or secretive. This is being intelligently protective of information that could be used against you. Strategic non-engagement also includes learning to end conversations that are going nowhere productive. Many people feel obligated to continue discussions until the other person is satisfied or agrees with them. This is a trap that keeps you engaged with manipulation indefinitely. Manipulators will keep moving the goalposts, changing the subject or introducing new complaints to keep the conversation going as long as possible. Learn to recognize when a conversation has become unproductive and give yourself permission to end it. You might say, it seems like we are not going to reach an understanding on this, so I am going to end this conversation here. Then you actually end it. You do not get pulled back in by their attempts to re-engage. You do not feel obligated to respond to their follow-up messages or calls. You maintain your boundary regardless of their reaction. Share this video immediately with people who get pulled into drama they do not want. Send it to your group chats because someone needs to learn that they do not have to engage with every manipulation attempt. Follow this channel for more advanced techniques that will make you completely immune to psychological manipulation. Comment strategic if you are ready to stop wasting energy on people who do not deserve your attention. Now comes the most crucial part of mastering mental defense, and this is where most people fail because they learn the techniques, but do not develop the mindset that makes them unstoppable. You now understand the three core principles: emotional, detachment, reality anchoring, and strategic non-engagement. These are powerful tools that will protect you from the vast majority of manipulation attempts. But tools are only effective when they are supported by an unshakable inner foundation. That foundation is what I call sovereign self-worth. This is the deep, unshakable knowledge that your value as a human being does not depend on other people's approval, acceptance, or agreement. Most manipulation works by targeting your need for external validation. Manipulators exploit your desire to be liked, accepted, and approved of by others. They threaten to withdraw their approval unless you comply with their demands. They make you feel like you must prove your worth through your actions. They convince you that your value depends on making them happy. Sovereign self-worth makes you completely immune to these tactics, because your sense of value comes from within, not from other people's opinions. When you have sovereign self-worth, you no longer feel compelled to prove yourself to people who question your value. You no longer need to justify your boundaries to people who do not respect them. You no longer feel guilty for disappointing people who have unreasonable expectations. You no longer feel afraid of losing relationships that require you to compromise your integrity. This is not arrogance or selfishness. This is healthy self-respect that recognizes your inherent worth as a human being. Here is how sovereign self-worth transforms your responses to manipulation. When someone says, "You are being selfish," you respond from a place of inner security rather than defensive panic. Instead of scrambling to prove you are not selfish, you might simply say, "I understand you see it that way," or "I am comfortable with my decision." When someone tries to guilt you by saying, "You are hurting my feelings," you respond with compassion but without accepting responsibility for their emotional management. You might say, "I am sorry you feel hurt, but I need to stick with my boundary," or "I understand this is disappointing for you." When someone threatens you with, "If you do not do this, our relationship is over," you respond from strength rather than fear. You might say, "I would be sad to lose our relationship, but I cannot compromise my values to maintain it." These responses are only possible when you have developed genuine self-worth that does not depend on other people's reactions. Developing sovereign self-worth requires you to do the inner work of identifying and healing the wounds that make you vulnerable to manipulation. Most people who struggle with manipulation have deep-seated beliefs that make them easy targets. They believe they are not good enough unless they please everyone. They believe they are responsible for other people's happiness. They believe they must earn love through perfect behavior. They believe conflict means they are bad people. They believe saying no makes them selfish. These beliefs were usually formed in childhood, through experiences with parents, teachers, or other authority figures who used guilt, shame, or fear to control behavior. But these childhood coping mechanisms become adult vulnerabilities that manipulators exploit. Healing these wounds means recognizing that you do not have to earn your worth through pleasing others. You do not have to manage other people's emotions to be a good person. You do not have to sacrifice your needs to prove your love. You do not have to avoid conflict to maintain relationships. You do not have to say yes to everything to be valuable. This healing process takes time and often requires professional support, but it is absolutely essential for permanent protection against manipulation. Another crucial element of sovereign self-worth is developing what I call outcome independence. This means being able to take right action without being attached to specific results or other people's responses. Most people avoid setting boundaries because they are afraid of how others will react. They avoid speaking truth because they fear rejection. They avoid standing up for themselves because they fear conflict. Outcome independence means doing what is right regardless of how others respond. It means setting boundaries even if people get angry. It means speaking truth even if people do not like it. It means protecting yourself even if people call you selfish. When you have outcome independence, manipulation loses its power because you are no longer trying to control or predict other people's reactions. You focus on your own integrity and let others be responsible for their own responses. This is incredibly liberating because it frees you from the exhausting work of trying to manage everyone else's emotions and reactions. The final element of sovereign self-worth is what I call relational selectivity. This means being extremely choosy about who gets access to your time, energy, and emotional investment. Not everyone deserves a place in your inner circle. Not everyone has earned the right to your attention and care. Not everyone is worthy of your trust and vulnerability. Many people struggle with this concept because they have been taught that good people treat everyone equally and give everyone endless chances. But this is not wisdom. This is boundary dysfunction that keeps you trapped in toxic relationships. Relational selectivity means evaluating people based on their behavior patterns, not their potential or their promises. It means prioritizing relationships with people who demonstrate respect, honesty, and reciprocity. It means limiting your investment in people who consistently take more than they give. It means protecting your energy for relationships that actually nourish and support you. When you practice relational selectivity, you stop being a target for manipulators because you are no longer accessible to people who do not meet your standards for healthy interaction. Here is your practical assignment for developing unshakable mental defense. For the next 30 days, practice these 3 principles every single day. Use emotional detachment whenever someone tries to make you responsible for their emotions. Use reality anchoring whenever someone tries to distort facts or gaslight you. Use strategic non-engagement whenever someone tries to pull you into unproductive conflict or drama. Document your experiences in a journal so you can track your progress and identify patterns. Notice how people respond when you stop being manipulatable. Some will respect your new boundaries and adjust their behavior. Others will escalate their manipulation attempts because their old tactics no longer work. The escalation is actually a good sign because it means your defenses are working. Stay consistent with your boundaries regardless of how others react. Also spend time working on your inner foundation of sovereign self-worth. Identify the beliefs that make you vulnerable to guilt, shame, and fear-based manipulation. Challenge these beliefs and replace them with healthier perspectives about your worth and responsibilities. Consider working with a therapist or counselor if you recognize deep patterns of people-pleasing or boundary dysfunction. Remember that developing mental defense is not about becoming cold or disconnected from others. It is about creating healthy relationships based on mutual respect rather than manipulation and control. It is about protecting your mental and emotional well-being so you can show up as your best self in all areas of life. It is about refusing to participate in toxic dynamics that drain your energy and damage your spirit. Comment sovereign. If you are committed to developing unshakable self-worth that no manipulator can touch, share this video with everyone who needs to learn that they do not have to tolerate psychological manipulation from anyone. Send it to all your social media groups because someone in your network is being emotionally abused and needs this information. Follow this channel immediately for more advanced psychological protection techniques. Like this video if these principles have already started changing how you see your relationships. The secret art of mental defense is not just about protecting yourself from manipulators. It is about creating a life where you interact with others from a position of strength, clarity, and authentic self-respect. It is about building relationships that honor your worth and support your growth. It is about refusing to accept treatment that diminishes your spirit or compromises your integrity. You now have the knowledge and tools to never be manipulated again. The question is whether you will have the courage to use them consistently, even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular. Your psychological freedom depends on your willingness to prioritize your mental health over other people's comfort with your boundaries. Choose yourself. Protect your mind. Build your fortress. Never be manipulated again.